He's Sal Paolantonio, the ESPN national correspondent. None of that local correspondent. He's a national correspondent covering the NFL for decades. And we say hello to Sal Paolantonio of the Mothership. All right, here we go.
Hey guys.
Look,
Great to be here.
always dressed.
My brother Todd.
Sal's always ready for maybe a live shot, just in case one breaks out here. Grab a microphone. He'll be ready to go. Let's go out to Sal Paolantonio, who joins us in New Orleans. What was it like the first time you were on TV live?
It wasn't too bad because I had a little bit of training as a newspaper reporter. So it was all about getting those sentences out, getting them out clean, looking into the camera, making sure that, you had the hair in place.
Oh,
and
of
makeup
course.
on. Yeah, absolutely. You know that more than anybody.
Yes, I know. That's more important than the information you're going to give out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't look good, not going to matter what you say, Dan.
But, when you see people who are in print and they do TV, print is different as far as what you're gathering. You're never worried about what you look like. But when you do TV, you have to get your interviews, information, and then you got to all of a sudden comb your hair and go on TV.
Yeah. It's a little more of a collaborative effort than being in a newspaper reporter. You're only as good as those people around you. I've had great people all the way throughout, the people who hired me at ESPN, people who I worked with at ESPN.
How many years have you been at ESPN?
It'll be 30 on August 1st. 30 years.
How has the Super Bowl coverage changed in those 30 years?
Well, social media explosion is crazy. I mean, opening night, it was wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't even move. Players were packed into groups of reporters, and they were unable to really go more than a half a foot. It was really intense and wild and crazy. I mean, it wasn't wild and crazy in terms of the questions that were being asked, but there were just a lot of social media people there. And there are a lot of social media people here covering every aspect of the Super Bowl. Yesterday at the hotel, I was walking around and talking to some of the catering people. And the catering people at the Superdome, there's 4,000 of them. They have a team of like 10 social media people who just handle social media for catering.
Wow. But do we have enough content to satisfy everybody who covers the NFL? Because sometimes that leads to a story that maybe isn't as big of a story as it is or should be, and it becomes bigger because we have wishful reporting on some of these things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everybody's trying to get as much clicks as they possibly can. For sure. I have a very benign social media presence there. I have a little bit of an Instagram. I'm not on X. I think I'm the only one at ESPN not on X, and I like it that way.
If you have information, are you allowed to break, or do you have to defer to Adam Schefter at all?
Well, now you're getting personal, Dan. Now you're getting personal.
I'm not up against a break either, Sal. We have plenty of time here.
Okay, Todd. I got you, Todd. All right. Was that in the script, Todd?
Sorry.
I got you. Was that
Sal, you didn't ask for a list of questions. Didn't ask for...
Short answer, no. Short answer, no. I call the news desk still, old-fashioned, The number is still the same number as when I got there 30 years ago. I call the news desk, or, I have my producer call the news desk, and we might put it out on Instagram, just to satisfy people. And
it happened to me one time on vacation where I'm with Tony Dungy's agent, and he said, hey, do you know Tony's going to get the job? He's going to be a head coach at Tampa. And I said, okay. So I called the assignment desk. And they said, well, we need a second source. So I said... That's
the dinosaur age, Dan.
I said, yeah, you don't need two sources anymore. And then they ended up giving it to Chris Mortensen. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be in the breaking news business.
And I don't consider myself in the quote-unquote breaking news business. I'm not a quote-unquote insider. I joke around all the time when I'm on radio. When they ask me a question about a contract, I'm like, that's 1-800-ADAM-SCHEFTER. Call Adam, and He'll have the inside scoop. So, I think it's important that, we figure out as a team, and we do it pretty well at ESPN, where our lane is. My job is to be embedded with the Eagles this week. So if it moves at the Eagles Hotel, I'm responsible for it, putting it on television or on radio. And being embedded with the Eagles is kind of fun. It's, stem to stern, wall to wall. I live 11 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, have for 25 years. So, people they expect me to find out what's going on.
Where were you when the Saquon Barkley, as far as your opinion on Saquon Barkley coming to the Eagles?
Well, I think it's just an incredible story. Listen.
But at the time, though.
Where was I?
Yeah, no, like at the time, what did you think? It felt like it's a little pricey, that offensive line.
No, not pricey at all. I mean, I think this was the number one free agent acquisition in the last 25 years in the National Football League, without a doubt.
Since Reggie White?
Well, yeah, going back to Reggie White. Reggie White brought a Super Bowl to Green Bay. And my first story, actually, covering the Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer, was a letter from then Mayor Ed Rendell to the owner of the team, Norman Brayman, begging him to keep Reggie White in Philadelphia. And Norman Brayman saying, you know what, let me run my football team, you run the city of Philadelphia. That was actually my first story that I actually wrote. And so it's come full circle. But I think since Reggie White, this is the number one free agent acquisition by any team. And Barkley is a different cat, Dan. Barkley is not only on the field, but off the field. I was talking to his running backs coach, Jamal Singleton, on opening night. And Singleton said, listen, when your best player is your hardest worker, everybody falls into line. And that's Barkley. But also, just from a contextual standpoint of the culture in New Jersey, Philadelphia, and New York, nobody has traveled more on the Jersey Turnpike than me from exit 4 to exit 16W and back in the last 30 years. I have worn out my Easy Pass, okay? I just put new tires on my car for like the 5th time on this particular car. I love this car because it doesn't beep at me when I don't have my seatbelt on. Hey. But, and I see what happened in New York and North Jersey when Saquon, and I hear from friends all the time because I grew up in New York, the displacement of that player from the Giants to the Eagles. And it's only 89 miles from MetLife to Lincoln Financial Field, but the cultural chasm is huge. New York is the financial mecca. Philadelphia is the hard scrabble working class center of football in Pennsylvania. And Barkley has fit in really well right away, and he's become a great leader.
Yeah, but when he dropped the pass earlier this season and the reaction to that?
You mean against Atlanta on Monday Night Football?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's made amends.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about him. The fans were, because we were going to have him on that next day. And he said, I can't. It'll be a bad look if I come on.
Okay.
And then we saw the fallout from that. Now, all of a sudden, he's firmly embraced. And
well, not all of a sudden. That was week what? That was opening night for the Eagles. So that was, week 2 of the season. It's 17 weeks later, Dan. It's not overnight. I mean, he is without a doubt one of the most beloved athletes that I've ever seen in a 12-month period.
Good, because he's a great kid.
Great dude.
Great kid.
Great dude.
And I've enjoyed a friendship with him. But if he didn't win the MVP, there's not going to be a running back winning the MVP in our lifetime. It's not going to happen again.
And he should be the MVP.
Yes. If you look at what he did, I think he made the right decision not playing in the last game. I had no problem with that because he has to get ready for this. That was the goal. Not, hey, I'm going to break a record. Break the all-time rushing record for an entire season, including the postseason. Win a Super Bowl MVP. But we're not going to have a running back if it's not Saquon with what he meant to this team. He changed them. He changed their offense. We're not going to have another running back MVP.
No, and I think you're right. I think it was good for him not to play in that last game. And when I sat down with him in August, right before the season started, right before we went to Brazil, and he said, I want to rewrite my story. He said, I want to rewrite my story, and the way I'm going to rewrite it is I'm going to win a Super Bowl. Not go to the Super Bowl, not win a rushing title, not be the MVP. And he said that to me on opening night. Same thing. That's going to define who I am. And yeah, I like that.
Would a Super Bowl do more for Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts. Absolutely. And I think Jalen Hurts could easily be the MVP of this game.
Okay, but if you're Kansas City, you want to get in a shootout here? You want Jalen Hurts to be throwing the football, I'm guessing, would be their defensive philosophy?
And that would be the Eagles' offensive philosophy, I think, in this football game.
Like they want to throw the ball.
I would say throw it early and often, bombs away. For a lot of different reasons, Dan, a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, you got to say to Kansas City, we can throw the ball on you. We got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, 1. 2, we're going to keep Justin Reed and Trent McDuffie occupied and the rest of that secondary occupied so that you're not in run support on Saquon Barkley. We're going to loosen you up. We're going to give Steve Spagnuolo something to think about before he brings Justin Reed down on those safety blitzes on 3rd and 4th down. We're going to hit the big long ball and loosen you up. The old adage of you throw to score and run to win is true in this game. Remember, the Eagles scored 35 points against this Chiefs defense 2 years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. They can score points, this Eagles offense.
But don't you lead with Saquon to open it up to have those defensive backs creep up, and then you go deep?
You could do either way, but I think it's throw first. You always say, you got to establish the running game, We got to establish the running game. Throw the football, yeah. And I think if that happens and Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over, I think the Eagles have a real shot at winning this game. But, I was listening to your conversation. What Mick Jagger said about the Beatles were they're the four-headed monster. And that's what you have here with the Chiefs. You got a four-headed monster. You got Reed, Spagnuolo, Mahomes, and Kelsey. And I think if they three-peat, it will go down as the greatest dynasty of all time, without a doubt.
In the NFL?
In the NFL, without a doubt. Move over Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Dallas, San Francisco, and the Patriots, because you're doing it in a different environment, right? There's never been this much money in the NFL and this much upheaval and a 17-game season. And I think this is an incredible feat if they do win this Super Bowl and have a three-peat. I think it will go down as the greatest quarterback-coach combination and the greatest dynasty in the NFL.
Who has more to gain, Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I think both of them, listen, I'm a voter, as you know, as a Hall of Fame voter. They're both going first ballot Hall of Fame, Reid and Mahomes. And I think they're tied together.
Is Eli going in first ballot this year?
Good question, don't know. Eli deserves to be. I pushed for him to be first ballot. We will find out tomorrow.
But you have a general sense of being in that room with
I
the voters.
I do have a general sense. I think there was considerable support for Eli.
But why don't you break it now before Shefty breaks it? Right? I think that's only fair.
Because I don't want to get a call from Canton, Ohio.
Great to see you as always.
Oh, Dan, this is great. Great. Thanks. Such a pleasure to
Love
be here.
spending time with you, certainly at the Super Bowl, and have fun on Sunday.
Thank you.
That's Sal Paolantonio, ESPN national correspondent covering the NFL. He doesn't break news, he sprains it. It's Adam Schefter who breaks that news. We'll come back right after this.